figured out how to put stuff in scientific notation and also how to put things in standard notation. So now we're just going to learn how to add and subtract, multiply and divide. Multiplying and dividing scientific notation is actually easier than adding and subtracting, kind of like integers. Integers, multiplying and dividing integers is easier than adding and subtracting. That is going to be way too big. So I'm just writing the first problem down here. And we're going to learn how to add and subtract at the same time because it's the same steps. Okay? So here I have a scientific notation problem. 2.3 times 10 to the fourth plus 4.5 times 10 to the third. And we're going to add them. Some teachers, when you're just now introducing this, some teachers will say, hey, put these in standard form and then add them and then put it back in scientific notation. Well, what if you had, like, instead of an exponent of 4, what if you had an exponent of, like, 30? You wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to, like, put it in standard notation when it had an exponent of 30. So I'm going to teach you how to do it by not putting them in standard notation. Okay, but the first thing you have to do is you have to look at your powers of 10s. And if you notice, they are one's a 4 and one's a 3. You have to get them to be the same exponent. Okay, and you can choose which one you want to change. It doesn't matter. I can make this one a 3, or I can choose this one to be a 4. I'm actually going to choose the first one to be a 4. I mean, not the first one, the second one to be a 4. So I'm going to change this number to where it has an exponent of 4. So what you have to think about is, so you have 4.5 times 10 to the third. This exponent means that we move it to the right 3 times. So if I want to change this to the 4, it would mean that I would need to move the exponent 4 times to the right. But I can't change my value. So if I put it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, if I move it just 3 times, sorry. So that would be 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is the original number that I had, 4.5 times 10 to the third. But if I want to move it 4 times, all I need to do is move this decimal back 1. Okay, and I get 0.45 times 10 to the fourth, because then I would move it 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would still get the same number as 4.5 times 10 to the third. A little confusing, but hopefully you understand that. So moving the decimal back 1 time times 10 to the fourth is the same thing as saying 4.5 times 10 to the third. Okay? They will both give me 4,500. So 4,500. So now that I have it in the same exponent, I can actually add it. So I'm going to erase this really quickly and rewrite it with the same exponent. So I'm going to rewrite 2.3 times 10 to the fourth plus 0.45 times 10 to the fourth. And so now we changed this one to have an exponent of 4. So now we have scientific notation that has the same exponent, and we can just add them. We just add the numbers out in front. So just like normal, you would add 2.3 times 2.3 plus 0.5, and you would get 2.75. And then you just keep the same power of 10 since we changed it to be the same. So times 10 to the fourth power. So our original problem added together equals 2.75 times 10 to the fourth power. Let's do another one. Okay, so with adding and subtracting, you just need to know that your exponents for the powers of 10s have to be the same before you can combine them. So 4.5 times 10 to the negative 3 plus, oh, not plus, minus 8.6 times 10 to the negative 2. Okay, so now you just have to decide which exponent you want to change. Do you want to change this one to negative 2, or do you want to change this one to negative 3? Remember, we have to change them to be the same. I'm going to change this one. So I'm going to change 4.5 times 10 to the negative third, and I want this to become a negative 2. Remember, I can't change the value though. Okay, I want it to become a negative 2. Well, the exponent here says I want to move it 3 to the left. If you remember our time before last week, this means 3 to the left. Well, this would mean 2 to the left. So if I just want to move it 2 to the left, I need to already move it one more time so I don't change the value. So 0.45 times 10 to the negative 2 is now the same as 4.5 times 10 to the negative 3. But now I have the same exponent as this one, and I can add it, or subtract it, sorry. So I'm going to use this, 0.45 times 10 to the negative 2. I'm going to rewrite it. And once you have them in the same powers of 10 with the exponent, then you can combine them by just combining the numbers out front. So 0.45 minus 8.6. If you don't know how to do that, stay tuned because we're going to do integers. But 0.45 minus 8.6 is actually negative 8.15. So negative 8.15, and then remember, you just keep the same power of 10 to the negative 2. Okay? It is okay to have a negative. The only thing you need to check is, regardless of the negative sign, is that number between 1 and 10? Yes, it is, so it's in scientific notation, regardless of the negative sign. I know I didn't do that last time with scientific notation, but it's okay to have a negative scientific notation. You just have to check, regardless of the negative sign, is that number between 1 and 10, and 8.15 is. Okay, let's do one more. So with addition or subtraction, it's the exact same steps. You have to change the power of 10 to the same exponent, and then you just combine the numbers out front by doing the simple addition or simple subtraction. So same thing here. We either need to change exponents to 4s or 5s. I'm choosing to change it to the 5. Okay, so I'm going to take this one, 8.1 times 10 to the 4th, and change that exponent to a 5. So what I'm doing, what this exponent is saying, 4 to the right, but I want to move it 5 to the right. So I need to back it up one more so I can move it 5 to the right instead of 4 to the right. So 0.81 times 10 to the 5th is the same as 8.1 times 10 to the 4th. But now I can combine them since they have the same exponent. So we'll rewrite it. Minus 2.1 times 10 to the 5th. Okay, so awesome. So now we have 0.81 minus 2.1, and if you did that, you would know that you got a negative 1.29. So a negative 1.29, and then times 10, we keep our power of 10 to the 5th is our answer. Again, doesn't matter about the negative, just see if it, regardless of the negative, if it's between 1 and 10, and it is, 1.29 is between 1 and 10. And so there is our answer, and that's how you add and subtract scientific notation. So now let's do multiplication and division. If you made it through that, multiplication and division should be a piece of cake for you. So 1.18 times 10 to the negative 6 times 1.15 times 10 to the negative 5. So in this case, when you're multiplying, it doesn't matter that the exponents are different, okay? You just have to remember your exponent property laws, and I've done a live on that. Remember, when you're multiplying, what do you do with the exponents? I can't see your comments, so sorry, but you add the exponents, okay? So you're going to add negative 6 and negative 5. But before we do that, all you do is simply multiply your front numbers. Since this is multiplication, side by side in parentheses means multiplication. So since this is multiplication, 8.18 times 1.15, once you did that, you would have gotten 9.407. And then we use the exponent property of adding our exponents to figure out what the power is for the 10. -6 plus -5 is -11. That's all you do with multiplying scientific notation. Let's do another one. Let's do one more here. 9.2 times 10 to the 5th and 4 times 10 to the -3rd. So here we go. Let's do these. So again, you just simply multiply the numbers out front. 9.2 times 4 would give you 36.8. And then you add the exponents since we're multiplying. 5 plus -3 is a +2. Now, if you look at our answer here, it's not in scientific notation because 36.8 is not between 1 and 10. So what you want to do, right now this is telling us that we need to move 2 to the right. So 1, 2. But we need to back up 1 and actually not move 2 to the right. We need to move 3 to the right. So 1, 2, 3. So we need to back up 1, 3.68. And now we need to move 3 to the right to get the same value as 36.8 times 10 to the 2nd is the same value as 3.68 times 10 to the 3rd. Since we backed up 1, you got to add it to it so we can move it 3 to the right instead of just 2 to the right. But you always want to put your answer in scientific notation. Okay, so that's multiplication. So now let's do division. You have to remember your exponent rule for division. When we added the exponents, we were multiplying. So for division, since it's the inverse operation of multiplication, you're going to do the inverse operation with the exponents. You're going to subtract the exponents. What you're going to do, though, is simply divide the numbers that were out front, 7.8 divided by 8, and you'll get 0.975. And then you subtract the exponents. 4 minus 1 is 3. But again, we need to make sure that we have this in scientific notation. This is not in scientific notation yet since this is below 1. This exponent tells us that we move it 3 to the right. So if we move it 3 to the right, but we already need to move it 1 to the right to put it in scientific notation. So instead of making it a 3, we need to make it a 2 because we had to move it already 1 to the right to put it in scientific notation. So that exponent now becomes a 2, and this is our answer. Again, 0.975 times 10 to the 3rd is the same thing as 9.75 times 10 to the 2nd. Okay, let's do one more division problem, and then I'll check in with you guys. (2.04 times 10 to the -1 over 2 times 10 to the -2. Again, all you need to do is simply divide these numbers. 2.04 divided by 2 would give you 1.02. And then we simply subtract the exponents. -1 minus -2, -1 minus -2 is actually going to just be 1. 1.02 times 10 to the 1st, but we actually don't even need to write that because it's understood when it's just a 1. So that's our answer, 1.02 times 10. Awesome. So that is scientific notation, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. I'm going to check in with you guys now. How's everybody doing? Am I hurting